All right. Awesome. So welcome to our 156th club meeting and our 35th Zoom meeting. Our 2021-2022 theme of the year is still extreme ownership, which is taking accountability for our own success. Thank you all for joining in today. There are only 5 of us, so it's going to be a very intimate meeting today. I do appreciate you guys coming through to the meeting. We've also got a very exciting lineup today. We've got Tanya that's going to be giving us an educational that I'm also very much looking forward to. And we've also got Kanyani giving us a speech today. Or we would still need an evaluator just for Kanyani's speech. Is anybody keen on taking up that role? Or can we do an overall club, Adrian? All right.
Yeah, well, as I'm general evaluator, I think, I've got a lot of practice. I'll probably mess it up, but nothing ventured, nothing gained, so they say.
Okay, perfect. So I'll send you Kanyani's evaluation documents for today.
Okay.
Because we are a bit low in numbers, there are a number of other roles that we also haven't filled for today's meeting, and that would be, we do have Tandeka as a grammarian. We still do need a timekeeper for our role, and yeah, just the timekeeper and R counter. I will take on the R counter role. Timekeeper.
I think we should combine our counter and grammarian, because Kanyani and I are speaking, so we can't do timekeeper as well. I don't know. It'd be difficult.
Cool. Tandeka, our counter grammarian, and then I'll do timekeeper.
Thanks, Matt.
I'm just gonna switch off my thing to get the red, yellow, green things. That's fine. Okay.
Okay. Alrighty, perfect. So today, it is going to be a bit of a not your conventional meeting. And so I will just be coordinating it, not as Toastmaster, but just introducing our speakers and introducing our various role players. And yeah, shall we get into it? So firstly, I'd like to introduce our grammarian for today. Tandeka, do you have a word of the day for us? Oh, she did say she's going to go get her cards quickly. Okay. You're still on mute.
You need to breathe. Okay. So, good morning, fellow Toastmasters. My role today, I have 2 roles. My first role is that of a grammarian. As a grammarian, I'm going to be listening to the speakers. When I'll be listening to everybody, including our main speaker. And I would just be listening to the good use of the language, and whether you've used our word of the day. I'll do that for everybody. And then in my second role, I am the timekeeper. When I'm timing 3 minutes, Kanyani, how long is your speech? 5 minutes? 2 minutes?
18 to 22.
Sorry? How long is Kanyani's? Okay, 3 minutes. So Kanyani, when you are at 1 minute, I'm going to raise the screen thingy. At 2.5 minutes, I'm going to raise this ember. That goes for everybody. And then at red, unfortunately, I couldn't find. Okay. Kanyani?
I'm sorry, Tandega, my speech, it's between 18 to 22 minutes.
Whoa.
Yes. Hence I'm laughing. I saw Tanya, I was frowning like So I think 18 to 22, maybe at 15 minutes you can say green. At 18 minutes we can say amber, and then at 22 you can say red. Somewhere around those lines.
All right, so this is my red. I couldn't get a red thing. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Tandeka, our timer, our counter, and grammarian. Alrighty, so I
What's
will
word
now.
of the day?
Sorry, Tanya.
What is the word of the day?
Tandeka, do you have one, or can I give them the one that we've already prepared? Okay. So our meeting theme for today was stage fright. Stage fright, and the word of the day is freeze or froze. Freeze or froze. Freeze or froze in the context of stage fright. So a meaning would be, couldn't find one in the context of public speaking, but let's adapt this one, which is an act of holding or being held at a fixed level or in a fixed state. So for example, I was on stage and I froze. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody happy with that?
Yeah. I just think of, when like now I'm trying to remember what, where the WhatsApp is. And Tanya said, I froze then. And then she
There
said,
we go.
so that was an example. I did froze under that situation there. My mind just went blank.
So before I start the meeting, or before I introduce our educational speaker for today, I'd like everybody to just freeze. Awesome. Nice. Right. Our educational slot today will be delivered by Tanya. Her speech, our educational speech, is going to be called the 5 Ps, and she will be sharing her thoughts with regards to the mind of the evaluator, the club's language, and the 5 Ps of public speaking. Tanya, over to you.
Matt, we also discussed earlier a group evaluation, so I could get some feedback, and that it is a level 5, just for those who want to know, on presentation mastery. I'm going to share my screen now.
Thank you for that. I keep forgetting to mention the level number and the pathway number.
We did practice earlier, just want some confirmation that you have. All right, fantastic. Speechcraft.
Sorry, do I time you? Do I time this one?
Yes, we're going from 10 to 20 minutes because
Okay.
I'd like to see if there's an interactive opportunity. So 10 is green, 15 is amber, 20 is red. And if we choose to go over, because it's very interactive, I think Matt will be comfortable with that because we have plenty of time. But the idea is 10, 15, 20. And I would like to encourage all of you to ask me questions at any stage, and I'll do my best to answer them or open up a discussion. Tandeka, you comfortable? Excellent. Speechcraft. Speechcraft is most definitely about the 5 Ps of public speaking. I'm going to tell you about my personal journey though. I didn't fully appreciate the 5 Ps until I understood concepts about the mind of the evaluator and something called the sandwich. The sandwich was introduced to me by my mentor about 2 years ago, and the evaluation form that I use every time I fulfill the role was introduced to me maybe 18 months ago. And understanding the sandwich, building on top of that, the evaluation mindset, I finally got to understand the 5 Ps. So I'm going to walk you through the journey and encourage you to ask me questions at any stage about my personal journey, because this is not a formal Toastmaster educational constructed speech. It's my personal journey on speechcraft. What you have in front of you, for those of you who are visual, the 5 Ps I will get to, that's in red at the top, is a small picture there of the evaluation form that I use. And I'll talk you through that just now. But the most important one to bring it all together is the club sandwich. And I have 3 different versions that I'm going to talk you through, which should integrate to the evaluation form to ultimately allow us to speak about the 5 Ps. Here we go. The evaluation form. It has certain sections to it, and the evaluation form is carefully balanced by the size of the area of space for you to write your commentary in. The evaluation form requires what they call a strong opening to catch the attention of the audience, make them curious, or make them very unsure about what's going to happen next. The closing. The closing should tie the entire speech together, and it should link carefully to the opening, but bear in mind everything else that is on the form. Your opening and your closing are the most impactful areas of your speech. Now, the speech body you can see on the form is the greatest area on the form, and that is because therein lies all the content. You can never forget, however, vocal variety and the use of body language, even though during these Zoom times, you can only see parts of our bodies. But we must all try to remember vocal variety and especially body language on Zoom. The sandwich. Remember the evaluation form. The sandwich, I showed you 3 in the beginning. Here, you have a sandwich which is almost stuffed with too much speech body. There's a tiny thin, the top layer of the sandwich, a tiny thin opening. You can't even see the closing. And there's just a whole bunch of stuff that's shoved into the middle of the sandwich. And almost, if it were to arrive on your plate, you would wonder how to ingest and consume all of that politely without messing everything up. It's just so much content, so much stuff in the middle. That is compared now to this one. This is got a little bit of an opening, a little bit of a speech body, and a little bit of a closing. The form shows you that you should have a good, strong speech content. This is too thin. I would almost say the opening, closing, and the speech body look the same. It is lacking in content, the yummy stuff in the middle. Now let me take you to what I would call a balanced sandwich. Now you all have to choose your own balanced sandwich, but look at this. The top layer is a nice opening with little seeds and crispy stuff on top, which looks interesting. The bottom you can see clearly again, a nice solid layer with some little nuggets on it. And in the middle, you have some distinctive areas. They say your speech body should have between 3 and 4 chapters or components inside the speech body, and that is enough to consume and enjoy. I'm hoping you can now see the different club sandwiches in context of the evaluation form and see that, in my opinion, the last sandwich I showed you depicts the most balanced version to the form. Are there any questions? And Tandeka, I'm going for 10 to 20 minutes because I'm seeing cards flashing up, just to remind you. Okay, no questions? Do you see the imagery? I see Kanyani has a question. Yes, madam.
Thank you, Tanya. On the first sandwich, I see it's more stuffed. What would be your advice in terms of organizing the content of the sandwich?
For me, it comes down to what I call do you remember this one slide here? This one. In your speech body, I have 4 little circles. You should try and create between 3 and 4 little chapters inside your speech body. That will allow you to not have it shoved with so much information that it's hard for the audience to consume or stay connected with or get overwhelmed. So 3 or 4 interconnected, related chapters. I call them chapters. And you move from one chapter to the next, just like if you were reading a book. The chapter is different, but it is connected to the storyline of whatever the book is about. But 3 to 4. If you have more than 4, you need to pull a chapter out, combine 2 into 1, become more succinct, but 3 to 4 chapters inside your club sandwich.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, so now remember the evaluation form, its association to the club sandwiches. And then I think I finally on my journey understood the 5 Ps. I first learned about the 5 Ps before understanding the evaluation form in the mind of the evaluator, what they were thinking when they were listening to me trying to deliver my speech. And the club sandwich made the form come to life because I'm very visual. I was introduced to the 5 Ps in the beginning, but they became real for me when I had the 2 other foundational elements, is what I call them. The 5 Ps was introduced to me by a very distinguished Toastmaster. In fact, the founder of the Bryanston Breakfast Club, her name is Trina, and I have her permission to use this content. So it's definitely not my content, just to make that very clear. It's my learnings. The 5 Ps of public speaking. Plan, prepare, practice, preview, perform. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to ask you, and maybe Matt, you can facilitate this part. Which part of the 5 Ps do you think is most important? Matt, what's your answer?
I would say the preparing.
Tandeka. Kanyani, I see your hands up. Which one?
Oh. I would say planning.
Okay. Adrian?
I think the one I'm really bad at is practicing. So I'm going to say practice.
Okay. Tandeka? Are you here still?
Yes, planning.
All right. We've got 2 for planning. Planning is the winner. Planning is the winner. I was caught off guard. I did not understand planning. I went straight into prepare and practice. And practice, Tanya, forever. And my first speech, I practiced for 3 weeks. And I understood better when I was taught the importance of the planning phase. So planning is the number 1 that you should spend your efforts on. Planning is all about. Now take this from Toastmasters to work, to family interactions, I suppose, especially the difficult ones. Planning is the most important one. Number one, it's the speech you deliver is not about what you are delivering. It's not about me. It's actually about the audience. So when you are thinking about preparing a speech, you really need to be very aware of who your audience is. As a business person, when I am talking to interns and youngsters, I have to plan very, very differently to when I'm in the boardroom delivering the results of the month. Kanyani, your hands up. Do you have a question or did it just not drop down?
It's the old hand. Thank you, Tanya.
Old hands. Okay, no problems. But planning is essential. So I can deliver the same sentiment of the speech, but I have to plan very differently if I'm with my interns versus my executives and fellow C-levels. If you do not put enough attention into considering your audience and planning your speech content and construct, you will have a very different success rate. So remember the evaluation form. Your opening, your closing, your body, vocal variety, and body language. Can you imagine if you delivered the speech to a bunch of 18-year-olds with the same kind of construct that you would to a bunch of 50-plus-year-olds? You would fail enormously. So planning your speech and the way you open and the way you close is very, very important if you have your audience in mind. When I open with my interns, I use jokes. I kind of get them to relax. When I open with my C-levels, it's incredibly formal. The closing as well. It's all about them. And the biggest one, when I finish my thinking, the message I want to leave my interns with is more inspiring and getting them to be forward thinking. When I think about my executives, I want them to, when I finish doing my speech or my presentation, I want them to be thinking about a call to action, a decision that I need them to make or support me on. So I'm hoping you're seeing the evaluation form now in a different way when it comes to planning. But the most important thing is when you're planning, make sure you know your audience, or you can flex if the audience seems to be unexpected or you cannot gather the information ahead of time. So plan for sometimes both, which I've had to do because sometimes I haven't been told exactly who my audience is. That happens mostly on panel interviews or conference sessions. So planning is essential and it takes a lot of thinking to get it right. I'm going to keep moving. Raise hands if there's a question. Once you've planned and you know who your audience is, the next important thing is to prepare. You can see the evaluation form comes straight into mind here. The rule with Toastmasters is that a speech must always have an opening, body, and conclusion. And you saw that on the evaluation form. You need to do your research and you need to create your speech. When I created my first speech, I wrote the thing out and it took me 3 pages. I wrote it all out and I tried for 3 weeks, like I mentioned, to try and remember every single thing on those 3 pages. I was then taught by my mentor that you can write your speech out, but your responsibility is to get rid of your speech and create a skeleton that is very brief, a few bullet points. So when things go wrong while you're delivering, you don't have to try and remember where you were on the 3 pages I initially wrote out. You come back to your skeleton, you flex a bit, and you move on. And the skeleton you can see in the evaluation form. It's the 3 or 4 little circles in the speech body. The skeleton is incredibly important, but there is no harm when you begin in doing your 3 pages, but try and pull back and get to skeleton type thinking as soon as possible, and eventually get rid of your notes. I think, Adrian, you said practice. I think it was Adrian. Practice makes perfect. Gary Player saying, used by many. Practice, practice, practice. My hot tip of the day is to practice in front of the mirror, and I will confess that I would do it in the morning in my pajamas, and I would practice in front of the mirror, thinking I've got my vocal variety and my body gestures correct. I was a huge swear in the beginning. I used to rock, and I didn't realize it until the one day I'd finished practicing in front of the mirror, and I then was advised, now record yourself. And oh my goodness, when I watched the playback and I saw the swaying, I wasn't even listening to what was coming out of my mouth. I was just watching a stupid human being sway from one side to the other. I still sway a bit, but be brave, do the speech in front of the mirror, and when you are ready, video yourself. I deleted it straight away when I played it back, and I tried again and again, and I still delete the videos because it's horrendous watching yourself. But the hot tip to practicing for me turned out to be in front of the mirror, but most importantly, record yourself and watch yourself, and you will learn so much. Preview. Matt and I did a preview this morning. Now, in the old days, you used to arrive at Toastmasters. You'd go and you'd see the venue layouts, if they'd done the tables in like a U shape or circles, get comfortable with the space, figure out if there's a lectern or not, and where the lighting is. Aircon, for me, big thing. Nowadays on Zoom, we do it differently. Matt and I played with the video setup and my screen sharing probably for 15 minutes, Matt, before I got it kind of right. And I suddenly realized that my screen was right, but I hadn't done a video lighting check. I had to quickly rush back and say, Matt, what's my video look like? So previewing is all about checking the space out. And when I preview, I say to myself over and over again, and I don't do this very well, but I do say it to myself, Tanya, talk low, talk slow, and don't talk too much. Now, I'm not getting that exactly right when I deliver my speeches, but in preview time, when your nervous levels are going up or your energy is going up, it's a mantra that I found quite helpful. Talk low, talk slow, don't talk too much, and Tanya has to add, don't sway. We are all born to perform. It is the most important, enjoyable, delightful moment. We all have it in us. It is a gift that we've got from God to be able to perform. And we have to remember, on the day, you have done the work, you've put the prep in. Picture it going well. Close your eyes and see the visual while you remind yourself not to sway. Picture the visual of it all going well. Congratulate yourself for the hard work if you followed the 5 Ps, if you've thought of the club sandwiches, and you've thought of the evaluator in the mind of the evaluator. And then simply go for it. In summary, the evaluation form should resonate with you. The 3 or 4 chapters in the speech content will help you get to that perfect, in my opinion, club sandwich. And remember the 5 Ps. Plan, plan, plan. Yes, prepare, practice, preview, and then perform. We're born for it. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. Adrian.
Yes. One of the things, I'm not very good when it comes to all the social media stuff and recording. Can you give me some advice as to if I want to record a video recording of myself, what platform do I use? How do I do it?
On your cell phone, you have something called photos. You can take a photo. If you look at the bottom, you can normally scroll left to right, and next to photos, it might say video.
Video, yes.
Then you basically put the phone up somewhere. I put it in front of my kettle, and you push play, you record yourself, and then you delete it after you've watched it.
Okay. No, that's simple. I think I've actually done that. Yeah, WhatsApp, yes, because on WhatsApp with family overseas,
Yeah, you can do it on WhatsApp as well, but I recommend photos because you can save it and play it back. WhatsApp, you might accidentally send it to your family, Adrian, and that might be that good.
It doesn't matter. My family know me quite well. I do stupid things from time to time. But thanks for that.
Pleasure. Kanyani?
Thank you, Tanya. What did you say? How bad is it to write all the speech down and trying to remember it all when delivering a speech?
It's not bad. The problem is when things go slightly wrong and you freeze. Now, if you freeze and you're trying to think about where are you on your 3 pages, it's very difficult to suddenly come back in and go, okay, this is how I carry on. And when I was trying to remember the 3 pages, it was not only the paragraphs, I was trying to remember what word I was using at what time. And it's simply too much for us to remember when we're under stress and we're worried about having that frozen moment on the stage. The skeleton allows you to just realize that everyone in the audience is not there waiting for you to fail. Hold onto your skeleton and just go for it. Circle back and find a way to hook back into the skeleton. Maybe some people are okay with the 3 pages. I get quite nervous speaking and the potential to freeze is high. And the skeleton was recommended as a way to just relax, take a deep breath. I didn't mention on the one slide, the power of the pause. If you're having a moment and you're in a panic, just take a deep breath. And the skeleton is so visible and it's so easy to see on the evaluation form, the 3 circles versus the 3 pages of writing, so many words. It was just too much for me. And many other public speakers, by the way, struggle with that. Does that help? So it's not an essential or a requirement. It's a suggestion, Kanyani. If the 3 pages work for you, go for it. Many of us can't manage that, and I can't.
Okay, thank you very much, Tanya. It helps.
Tanya, just a question from your experience, because you mentioned there are times when you don't know your audience and you're not aware of what your audience is going to be. Does that mean you write out the skeleton for both audiences and then practice both of them?
Yeah.
How do you do that in a way that's not so time confusing, or that doesn't, where you don't find yourself in a position where you're confusing, or when you're presenting the speech and then you start confusing yourself?
I think let me try and say this in a different way. It's not so much when I don't know my entire audience. I will have an idea of my audience because I put so much effort into planning, and you ask the right questions of the facilitators or the conference organizers or the panelists. My one, so it's not almost 2 speeches. My one is, what happens, Tanya, if the audience is the following, and I've done my planning, and I walk in there and I find what I call a detractor, or someone who's ultra aggressive. I need to make sure I can handle that person because I want to plan for that person. And then you have the other person in the audience who, instead of listening to the speech and asking short, appropriate questions, starts asking a question, and then they start, instead of asking a question, lecturing or rambling. I need to plan for those 2 people. So it's not really entirely different audiences, but if it's your own network of people that you know, I don't have to worry about these extremists. The one who's going to turn a question into a lecture, and the one who's going to be a detractor and try and tell me I'm doing everything wrong. Those are the 2 that I kind of think about. But generally, I try and make sure I know my audience well. The other trick, Matt, is to arrive extra early in the preview part and walk around and try and meet your audience, to try and find out if you have a detractor or an aggressor, or someone who thinks that they know all the answers to everything and is here more to lecture me than to tell me anything. So Harold always said, Tanya, get a cup of coffee and just walk around, introduce yourself, and try and find out who's who.
Thank you, Tanya. That was helpful.
Adrian? I think you're on mute, Adrian.
Button here. Skeleton, is that in the form of a bullet list? And do you have cards available, or do you have your bullet list all on one sheet of paper that to prompt you? How do you?
I was taught by Harold very early to get rid of words as soon as possible. So it's more about, in my head, having this picture on speech body in my head. So the skeleton is, what is my chapter 1? What is my chapter 2? What is my chapter 3? Do I really, really need a chapter 4? Because often you'll be over your time limit if you have 4 chapters. So in my head, the skeleton's there. And then I have planned vocal variety and planned body gestures that I know I want to do either in chapter 3 or chapter 1.
Okay.
Yeah, so this really is my skeleton.
Okay, so you basically, your skeleton gets into your head, or your bullet list is in your head. You don't have cards or anything to try and prompt you as to where you're going.
And if I get this right, my skeleton, I know that my evaluator is going to be ticking all the right boxes. It's kind of manipulative, actually.
Okay, thanks. Now you've answered that one. Because I was tending to stick up on the top of my computer lots of little prompts for me there. But if you don't advise that, just get the skeleton and know that skeleton, yeah.
And do, like in my speech body, I'll have like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 bullet points, and I draw a line, and that's chapter 1, and I draw a line, that's chapter 2, draw a line, because I can't seem to remember too much. So that works for me and gives me flexibility to kind of go with the flow.
But
and then I write my opening, I plan my gestures, I plan my vocal variety, and I write my closing. This is the one I practice the most, by the way, is the closing. Because if your closing is really strong, people forget all the mistakes you made during your speech. Kanyani, I think your hand went up and maybe went down again.
No, it was a mistake, Tanya.
Okay, so I got to 19 minutes and 1 second on my timer. I don't know. Matt, back to you.
Thank you. Tendeka, you wanted to say something before I continue?
Thanks to Tanya. On mine, she's 19 and 20 seconds.
Okay, I'll take yours. It's even better.
So perfect. Well done on delivering it within 20 minutes, despite having questions in between that. I think that was amazing. And thank you very much, Tanya. My key takeaways from this, and I loved. Yes, let's actually give you a round of applause before anything.
Thank you.
I loved the visuals, and I loved how you presented it with the visuals. Even as you're showing the sandwich, like I could imagine myself trying to struggle to eat sandwich number 1. So definitely that's how I'm going to be remembering the speeches. Don't struggle to eat the sandwich. So thank you very much for delivering the educational, Tanya. I definitely found value in it. As always, I appreciate it.
That was my educational, so I was quite nervous.
It didn't show. It didn't show at all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got a nice picture in my mind now. You know, when I saw the sandwich originally, I was thinking of the beginning is when you make it. You start from the bottom up, and of course, when you're actually doing the best part of it, you start from the top down.
Excellent.
Alrighty, moving on to our next item on our on our agenda this morning. We've got our speaker, and that is Kanyani. Kanyani will be presenting a prepared speech. This is going to be her Effective Coaching Project, Levels 5, Speech number 1, and it is titled The Journey of Life. Her evaluator is Adrian, Adrian, would you like to tell us what the objectives of Kanyani's speech? Kanyani's speech evaluator is Adrian. Adrian, would you?
Also, I'm sort of a general evaluator, and sometime in the progress as we go through, I have to call upon myself to do the evaluation. In terms of evaluating the speech, all I have to do now is actually look at the notes I made that Tanya had presented to us there. So I'm thinking in terms of the sandwich. So there's a lot of things I'll be looking for there in the sandwich. I did write them down. The opening will be an important part of the speech to see if she's raising my expectation of something that I'm going to learn and appreciate that's going to be a benefit to me and to other people in the audience as well. And then what do we have next? Vocal variety. So I'm expecting her to maybe change the tone of her voice. When you talk about vocal, I think in terms of the eye contacts as well, you know, that I know that she's looking at me, and the expressions on her face and the body language, that she won't just stand there doing nothing. She'll lift her arms around, but to move her arms around in meaningful ways. And the closing, that she'll inspire me to be impactful, and I know really what's going on. So those are the features that I'll be looking for and commenting on when I give my evaluation.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Kanyani, we look forward to hearing your 18 to 22 minute speech. The journey of life, Kanyani Tetwa, the journey of life.
The journey of life, here it's mine. I consider life as a journey, the journey that we travel together, but differently. Fellow Toastmasters, available guests and visitors, greetings to you all. My name is Kanyani Tetwa. Walk with me as I take you through the highlights of the journey of my life. Today, you will know that I was raised by my paternal aunt. I am the only child to my parents. At some point in my life, I was admitted to the hospital due to mental breakdown. And lastly, you will know that I once had a belief that I am a bad communicator. Ash Desmond Dudu says, we do not choose our family, we are God's gift to them. Yes, I was raised to have children. Some who never had any experience with caregiving, but she raised me. I am from a community that believes that doesn't really support in having a child receiving a caregiving from a paternal aunt. But I was raised by a paternal aunt. I'm here to tell you my story, that I am the example that a paternal aunt can raise a child. Looking around, I was alone. I did not have any siblings. I only had my aunt who was taking care of me. Well, my dad was away due to work. I don't really believe that paternal aunt cannot raise a child, given the society beliefs. For me, my story is different. I remember during my primary days, my aunt was very thorough with me. Before I would go out of the yard, she will check that everything is in order. My hair, my school uniform, and my bag, and my shoes. she wouldn't let me go out and if there's something wrong with me. I would rather be late. That's how thorough she was with me. Yes, the society can say that and that bad things about it, but I would like to acknowledge that no one is perfect with providing a caregiving to a child. But my aunt did the best that she could. Being raised by an aunt taught me that someone who doesn't have biological children can raise a children, and someone who doesn't have any experience with having a child around can really do the same providing a caregiving same as someone who has a biological child. And the other thing that I've learned with this experience is that society can break you or make you believe things that are not really good. But for me, I've learned that, and I've also appreciated that, yes, I was raised by my paternal aunt. Like I mentioned to you, that you'll know that I am the only child to my children. Yes. For sure, if I were to ask you a question, would you say I have siblings? Yes. Guess what? You're not the only ones. Most people think I have siblings, but I'm going to assure you today that I don't have. I'm the only biological child to my children. I never say this. This is why. Because the stories that I hear around about the child that are the only ones to their parents is that we are being labeled as spoiled child. But I realized that I'm nothing as compared to what that is. This is why I never say. Sometimes people get thrilled or challenged when they hear that I am the only child to my parent. Yes, I understand that people can label us as spoiled child, but like I mentioned, I am not. They say by default, we get everything that we want from our parents. But it was different with me because I would say I only got rewards from my parents. That's the difference. I had to behave good or had to do something that's considered to be good to my parents to get rewarded. And also the reward, it was something that my parents think I deserve. Can you see? I didn't have any choice. So I'm different. I always consider myself different to anything. Whenever they say there's something, they say spoiled brat, I am not that. Being the only child taught me to be independent, even though sometimes I wish that I had siblings to play around, so I can buy a bit. My company. Since from birth until now, I enjoy my own company, but I don't have any problem with it. In fact, I enjoyed it. 2017, it was a life-changing for me. I was admitted to a hospital due to mental breakdown. Prior to my admission that day, for the period of a week, I was too hyper, not knowing or not realizing that I was not right, I was not well. But those who were around me during that time noticed that something is not right. So the last day that I got admitted on, I was at work. So people realized that I was not right. I need medical attention. I found myself in a hospital, confused, not really understanding what's wrong with me. I stayed at the hospital for about 3 weeks. After my discharge, I stayed at home for a period of a month before I can go back to work. The period passed for the one that I was sitting at home during that month period. When I go back to work, I was feeling fine. I didn't have any worries. I was okay. For me, I feel I'm ready to go back to work. But when I get to work, I was overwhelmed by the welcoming that I received from my colleagues and everything that, like the treatment that I got the first week when I got to work. Then I started feeling overwhelmed. Then start questioning really what was wrong with me, because really I can't understand. For me, it was, I think I was not okay, but I'm not really sure what was wrong. Then I started, now the memories started playing back. The memories prior to my admission, the hyperness, whatever that I was doing when I was during my hyper mood. Then now I started feeling embarrassed, started feeling stressful and worried. What are these people thinking about? Are they really welcoming me back, or are they trying to think what I was doing prior to that? Then I started I started feeling stressed, becoming hopeless, embarrassed. I remember that year, December holiday, I spent indoor, worrying, stressing a lot about whatever that I was doing. Then life became heavy for me to live. It was just challenging for me to face any individual outside. So I spent the whole of my December indoor. It was just heavy for me to be around people. But as times goes on, it took me around a year for me to now start feeling positive towards life. This is the experience that I consider the most difficult one so far in my life. But I am glad that I became positive towards life now. I passed through that journey. Now I'm here, I'm able to tell my story. This experience taught me I did not know anything about depression at that time. Now I know. I was not aware about mental health or illness at that time. Now I know. And lastly, I know that as much as my physical health is important, so is my mental health. If that I didn't have that experience, I don't think I would have taken my mental health as serious as I am now. For sure, by now, one of you, if not all of you, are thinking, oh, Kanyan got this thing of public speaking. She's flowing, she's confident, now she's smiling in front of people. Let me tell you something. At some point in my life, I believe that I am poor in communication, especially in the English language. I hold this belief for a long time until I was 27 old. I guess this is around the time that I remember one day I wanted to, because I have this vision saying view myself as someone who speaks a lot in front of audience like this, or even larger audience. But deep down in my heart, I want to do this. But this belief that is conflicting with everything, that no, Kanyani, this is not for you. You can't, you can't. But at some point, I remember I was bored, just laying in bed. Then I went to Google search, how can I improve my communication? Amongst the things that pops up on the results, it was Toastmasters. Then I went to their website. Then I looked for a club, I joined, I became a member. My first time experience in one of the meetings, I saw people speaking, I thought, no, this is not real, that these people can speak so fluently. But when they read the mission statement, I felt welcomed, and I felt like this is the environment that I can utilize for me to improve communication skills. And it became real that yes, communication is a skill that someone can improve. I was encouraged to do my first speech. I allowed myself to be a beginner. I just wrote something there and do my icebreaker. I did my speech. I received my evaluation. After my evaluation, I was like, indeed, I can speak, and I just need to allow myself to be a beginner. I'll get there. Since then, I never looked back. I always get encouraged. I encourage myself to write a speech, even if you don't know what you're talking about, but try to come up with a topic and give a speech. Then I will improve. This is where my journey begins. And since then, I realized that Toastmasters is a safe environment for me to improve my communication. Hence, today, it might sound like I got this thing of speaking in front of you, but I'm still learning, believe me. Ladies and gentlemen, and like I mentioned to you, this was just the highlight of the journey of my life. Today, you know that I was raised by my paternal aunt, someone who doesn't even have a biological child. Secondly, you know that I am the only child to my parent, but I don't believe that I'm a spoiled brat. I'm different to that. Thirdly, you know that at some point I was admitted to the hospital due to mental breakdown. Lastly, you know that I once believed that I'm a bad in communication, but here I am today. I'm able to speak, even though I'm still learning. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Well done, Kanyani. Oh, man. I agree with Tanya. Beautiful. I loved the vulnerability in your speech. And I want to, just put it out to the members so that they understand where you're coming from. Kanyani's been working on this for weeks now. We've been back and forth. She's been constantly, I want to present it, but I don't know where to start. I want to present it, but I'm scared. I'm feeling not ready. And she's finally delivering this speech. So well done for making it through your struggles to eventually presenting this level 5, Kanyani. Definitely well done. I love what you said there, and I think it's applicable to our meeting theme of stage fright and just understanding speechcraft in general. Allow yourself to be a beginner, and you'll get there. That was so powerful. That moved me. So thank you very much, Kanini. I'd like to now call on our timekeeper to give us a report on the times of the speakers.
Thank you. Kanyane did 15 minutes and 20 seconds. Tanya was, where are you? 10 minutes. David, oh, sorry, it's on the other page. 19 minutes, 20 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Timekeeper. My internet connection is acting up now. So would anybody like to take a break before we continue?
Yes, please.
All righty, perfect. Let's give it a 10-minute break and we'll be back at 20 past.
Yeah.
If you come back before then, that's also perfect because then we can chat. So see you guys just now. Welcome back, Tandeka.
Hi, Max.
You're killing it handling all these roles.
I love it.
So we didn't have a table topics master for today, but Adrian just came up with a quick idea now for table topics. And his challenge was to everybody, tell us about your life in 1 minute.
1 to 2 minutes, come on, that's tough.
1 to 2 minutes.
Okay.
So we'll go popcorn style as I have everyone on my screen. So it's Adrian, myself, then Tanya, Tandeka, and then Kanyani.
Okay, can I start? Okay, in 1 minute. I was born in 1944 and I was fortunate to have really loving parents. My father was in the Home Guard during the war. I had a sister who unfortunately passed away with cancer at the age of 55, 5 years older than me. So she started the war. She was born in 1939. I was born in 1944. And I remember I was a very shy child, certainly very shy. And I was a complete failure at primary school. And I remember taking my 11 plus exam, which determined whether you go to a grammar school or not. And I failed miserably. My dad, I was very fortunate having parents who never ever gave up on me, particularly my father there. And I remember doing entrance exams through all sorts of posh schools. And I eventually passed one to the Croydon Secondary Technical School, and I learned woodwork and metalwork and brickwork. And also they started to do A-levels there. And then I was inspired by teachers and I became very good at maths and physics, and I really loved that. And as a result of the teachers that I had, that had a huge influence on me. I managed to get to university, and I went to Imperial College, London University, and I got a BSc in physics, and everything went very well. And then I decided I wanted to live at the age of 26 when I finished my research PhD studies. I came to South Africa, and because of the climate was the big thing there, and I had South African friends at college. And what happened next? I fell in love, got married, and had two boys. Unfortunately, I lost one boy due to cancer at the age of, how old was he? He was probably about 38 there. I have another son, Dylan, who's now in Vancouver, Canada. I got divorced. I've remarried to Anne number 2, and I have a good amicable relationship with my ex-wife, and all is good now. And I've decided that I wanted to join Toastmasters and get myself involved. And I do have occasions when I think, gee, I'm scared. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And I freeze. I have my senior moments. But today has been fabulous. It's been an intimate little get together. Everybody's opening their hearts to each other. So life is good. Thank you very much. Back to you, Madam Table Topics, Tandeka.
Thank you, Adrian. I'll go next. My life in 1 to 2 minutes. I think I've got it easier than most of you because I've only got like 24 years of life to talk about. So my life in 1 to 2 minutes. I was born in 1996 in South Africa. I was born to a mom who is adopted. She originally grew up in Zambia. She never knew her parents either, and she moved to South Africa. I don't remember what year, but she moved here with a church congregation. I think that's what they call. It's not a concubine. It's a church. I don't know what.
Matt,
I know it starts with a C. I just, hey. What I don't know what was the word I heard someone mention.
You said concubine.
Congregation, not concubine. Trust me.
Congregation. Okay. She moved aside with a church congregation. It was at the church congregation that she met my grandmother, who then adopted her. I grew up in a family in which she was an adopted to, so I don't know if that makes me an adopted person in the family. So I grew up with a lot of issues of not knowing who I am, and a lot of issues of not knowing what my culture is, and a lot of issues of not knowing where I stand in the family. I eventually came to Toastmasters to try and get over all my insecurities, because as I mentioned the one time, I'm just looking, I think I probably I want affirmation in this part of my life. And that's possibly what I'm coming to do, to affirm that I'm good at what I do and that I'm perfect the way I am. Other than that, I've got a 23-inch, no, it's not a 23, it's a 55-centimeter Stitch teddy bear that goes everywhere with me. He's my travel buddy, he's my sleeping buddy. And yes, it was cute about 2 years ago when I could still walk around with him in public, but now I can't show him to you guys, because every time I walk around with him, it's like, look at this grown-ass man with a teddy bear, what's wrong with him? But one day I will bring him to the meeting and you can meet him. Thank you very much. Tanya, over to you now.
First, I want to say I'm surprised Tandeka did not fall off her chair when you said concubine versus congregation, just by the way.
Should have had the noise in the house.
Thank you for correcting me, guys. Clearly concubine doesn't seem like the right word.
I think you better Google the definition so you understand what you just said. Anyway, right, my turn. I'm gonna start now. So I'm 50 in 2 weeks' time, so I'm gonna go in decades. The first 10 years, all I remember is my father from Germany, my mother from the UK, really working incredibly hard and, you know, trying to make ends meet, which meant they really worked. And my brother and I pretty much didn't grow up with them. And then my ambitions in my 20s, from 10 to 20, was to get through school as fast as possible, because I needed to find out how to make money, because it wasn't something that we really had. Raced through university, raced through school, raced through university. And by the time I was 30, I had a goal that I wanted a house, a family, 2 dogs, because I've always had dogs, 2 cars, and I wanted to have money. So I went from having aspirations of being a marine biologist to being someone in IT. I then found myself at 30 wondering what the hell next, because I'm not quite sure. I'd reached all the goals and I was hoping my parents would be proud. Decided to start my own business, worked incredibly hard, mimicking my mom and dad through my 30s. Got kind of lost in my 40s. Relationship broke down, things got difficult, sunk myself into work, sold my business. Now I'm in nearly my 50s and started a new business. So I seem to be a workaholic. I think I'm still trying to satisfy or make my parents happy, even though I'm almost 50. That is, in 2 minutes, my journey. I'm very blessed and grateful to have had it and live it, but it has been interesting. Here's to future chapters for all of us. Thank you. Matt, back to you.
Madam Timekeeper Tandeka, you're up next.
In 2 minutes, story of my life. I was born in 1972 on the 11th of August. Yeah, so I believed that I was the only child between my mom and my dad. And for a long time, I held that belief. But now it turns out that actually my dad had like 18 of us, and then my mom has 2 of us. So I'm still the only child between the 2 of them. So yeah, I was quite disappointed. At least I could see my sister from my mother's side. I mean, I saw my mother pregnant, so I knew I had a sibling coming. But with my dad, it was like a shocker. Then I was brought up by my grandparents. It was a very loving home because I was still the youngest in the house. I grew up with 2 other cousins of mine, so I was still the youngest. So I was spoiled a lot. I know that. Then, yeah, I went to school. Fortunately, I stayed in school, and there was money to take me to school. I also had best, and then I managed to graduate in law. My grandfather had really high hopes for me, so I had to do things. I have to accomplish things because I kept imagining, sure, if I fail, then I would have disappointed a whole lot of people, but especially my grandfather. So he passed away in 2002, 2 years after my grandmother passed away. And I have 2 kids, a girl who is 32, recently turned 32, and a boy who is 14, he's turning 14 next month. That's me.
Thank you very much, Sandeka. And last but certainly not least, Kanyani, not Sandeka, Kanyani.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kanyani Tsatewa. I was born in 1991. I was raised by my paternal aunt. I spent a lot of time with her and my dad. Due to some unforeseen circumstances, I had to be separated from my mother around for the period of 10 years. I went to primary at home in Limpopo, the nearest primary in Limpopo. Then I went to high school in the village called Rampahlele. Thereafter I went to Val University of Technology. I did national diploma in technology. Thereafter I started working at Standard Bank. Moved from Standard Bank to Department of Correctional Service. Thereafter I moved to Liberty. Currently I'm realized that IT is not for me. I'm currently studying with South African College of Applied Psychology, doing my Bachelor of Social Science. Yes, and then I just recently got a baby boy. That's me. Yeah, I'm sure. Back to you, Mr. Tofu.
Thank you very much, everyone, for sharing your life in 2 minutes. Despite the little apprehension at first, you guys all did really well. 2 minutes. It's quite a lot to pack a life into. There's so many experiences. But I personally feel like I know you all a little bit better. So thank you very much for sharing that. Okay. We will then now, I will call on to our general evaluator who would take us through the next session of our meeting today. Adrian Hind, Mr. General Evaluator, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Matthew, for introducing me there. As General Evaluator, this is the first time I've had the role as General Evaluator. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And let me just start. Before the meeting, I'm supposed to verify the presence of evaluators and helpers. Now, one of the great things about this particular setup today is it all worked. I had expectations that things just wouldn't work out, and we'd have to postpone the meeting or do something like that. And Matt, when you basically decided that do a, I think it's the first time I've had a, was it told and voluntold, and Tandeka took the reins to be our counter grammarian and lots of other roles as well, I think simultaneously there. So that was great. So this meeting, I think, was actually a great success, and I really loved the intimate nature of it all, even though there's only 5 of us here all together. So I know I've got lots of things that I'm supposed to be doing, but I think I'll just go straight on and introduce our speech evaluator for the day. Adrian, what's your role today? You are evaluating Kenyani's speech, I believe. So you can go ahead and start your evaluation. Kenyani, that was a very poignant speech that you gave there. And I was just thinking, one of the applications there, there are probably other people like you who've sort of struggled in the early periods of your life there. And I think, I was just thinking now in terms of trying to get people to join our club. And I think there are a lot of people who basically would be hesitant to realize as my role as Vice President of Education and Membership, particularly membership, that I've been lacking in terms of getting a more close relationship with potential guests there. Instead of emailing them, I realize now that if I've got the phone numbers, I've really got to start just chatting to them and persuading them and finding out basically a little bit about them, rather than just sending an email and please go to this website and this and that. So it's been quite a lesson for me that I've got to put into practice in terms of trying to attract members to our club in a more active manner. But anyway, let's get on to your speech. As I was saying, it's a very poignant speech. And I think you were really opening your heart to us in lots of ways. You know, finding out that, you know, you were raised by your paternal aunt there. So there's a lot of sadness, I think, in your life in those early days. You know, those of us who've had loving parents who've always taken care of us, it's probably a very different story to be raised by an aunt there. And then also realizing that you must have struggled a lot during those early years of your life, and the way you expressed yourself. I saw the hand gestures there, and I really, you were sort of letting us into your hearts, really opening up to us in terms of your own personal life there, which is a struggle to do, and pointing out some of the things that your perhaps your weaknesses, but and the beautiful things that you overcame them all. So it was a very, as I say, a very, very emotional speech that you gave there. Your gestures were good. The message came through very, very clearly. And there's not much that I could do in terms of in terms of sort of improving things, because it was a speech from the heart there that I think moved all of us. Now, one of the things that I would have liked to have seen, I was listening in the background, there was a little baby chirping away there. It would have been great if you could have just picked up your child and showed us all your beautiful little baby. So Kenyani, thank you so much for that speech. And we're looking forward to your next speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get back to you.
Tanya?
Oh, Tanya.
I said earlier in my educational, one of the hardest things to do is planned gestures, especially when we have such a small screen. Kenyani, at your closing, you were talking about your excitement, and you did a little bit of a kind of dancey thing. I don't know if you planned it or if it just happened because you were excited, but that little thing you did, and I mean, I'm not doing it as well as you, was brilliant.
Yes, yes.
I agree with Tanya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Adrian, as part of your role, you'd also call on the timekeeper, our accountant.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Matt,
This is what I love about these meetings. There's always somebody there to prompt me. Thanks, Matt.
So Adrian,
I must say, Matt, you've been a great help to me. I look upon you as my mentor when it comes to social media and what buttons to press and this and that there. So let me call on the timekeeper.
Adrian, just before you go on, Tanya.
Yeah.
well, I was looking for an open evaluation on my educational, and I know there were some comments earlier that it was enjoyable and stuff, but room for improvement is incredibly important. So if I can ask each of you to give me maybe one or more points on how to improve, I would really appreciate it for my growth. Matt,
Right.
I'll leave you.
Okay, Matt, you can go first.
You can go first, Adrian, and then I'll go after you, and then Tandeka and Kanyani.
Okay, no, that's fine there. I think one of the things that sort of came to my mind straight away is that's I made sort of notes of the various points there, and you had obviously you've got a PowerPoint presentation there, and I think I would have loved to been given a tip in terms of how I could get hold of that particular PowerPoint presentation from you. So that was the only thing that I would have liked to have more. So you whetted my appetite, and I think in terms of where you could improve, maybe you could have put in an invite in terms of if you want to know more, contact me or something along those lines there. But I found no fault with your actual presentation there. It inspired me to want to know more and to be able to sort of talk to you one-on-one. That was the only point. So I've got no criticism there at all, but to have a follow-up in terms of, because this is very important in terms of how you present a speech, the analogy of the sandwich there. So my only thing is I would have loved to have known more, and I would have loved the opportunity of having a one-on-one contact with you. That's the only thing that I could say. You inspired me. I want to know more. I would like to be in a position where I can contact you and get advice.
So I've just posted the speech into the chat box, so you can download that and call me anytime.
Okay.
Right. I need improvement tips. Thank you for the compliments, Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
Tandeka, Kanyani.
With regards to improvement tips, because all I have is compliments, I found it helpful. And the only thing that I think maybe you can improve, that form, for me, it was difficult to read. It was tiny. So I don't know if you could, maybe it would be difficult to make it into a slide. I don't know. Yeah, if you can find a way to improve its our ability to read it. So that was the only thing. But overall, 100% my friend. Sorry.
Okay. I did have a slide where the form was there, but I think I rushed through it because I talk too fast and I don't talk slow and low. But yes, thank you very much for that.
Kanyani. Okay. While
Okay,
we wait.
thank you. From my side, I noticed that for the first time that you give us the 5 page. Your slides were rich in content, but this time around, I'm seeing less content. I noticed that there's less content on it. And then the other thing is that it was easy for me to follow, but I realized that you were not going point by point. I think you can still at least limit the content on some of the slides. Other than that, I've learned a lot from it, more especially in terms of the sandwich example that you used. And then the other thing is that the skeleton, because I'm someone that always tries to remember everything. And in most cases, I have those freeze moments during my speech. Then I think I'll have to try to practice the skeleton so that at least I limit my freeze moments. That's it from me, Tanya.
You were one of the people who said the last time I had too many words. So I worked really hard on getting.
I think it was
them. Okay, I worked hard on getting pictures in, but obviously I can reduce that even more, which I will work on. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. And Tanya, I get from my side, it's also just a point of improve to challenge yourself. As I was mentioning earlier on, I think you did really well when we just had those picture slides, of the sandwiches on its own, and that in itself had allowed me to digest the content a lot more, because now the picture's stuck in my head. And I think to challenge yourself, I would say you seem to be able to articulate your stuff, your ideas and what you're saying in a way that captures us as an audience. And so along the lines of Kanyani, not necessarily having so many points on your slide, because I was looking back at my notes now, and I realized the moment the slide got very packed with words, and for me it got a bit overwhelming, and I stopped taking notes at that point, because it's like, what do I choose from this slide? So I think just having more pictures and you speaking keeps, on a personal note, it kept me more engaged than actually having to read all of the content, because the moment I started reading off the slides, I, to some level, was disengaging from what you were saying and focusing more on what was being said. And then I think.
No, carry on.
No. And I think just the last point would be, I also did note after, or maybe it was intentional, you just let me know if it was intentional. The first slide, which was the plan, you went really in depth. The prepare, it was plan, prepare, really in depth, and then the others were rushed, almost felt a bit rushed through. So I'm assuming it's because there wasn't so much to go in on those. And you did it was only mentioned like maybe the last line at the bottom or something like that. So instead of having all the words on those slides where you're not planning on going in depth, maybe just having those one-liners that you are going to reiterate. So again, I think my whole point being, I'd like to hear you more and see less of the words on the slides.
So I ran out of time to do practice. And I was watching my timer, and I realized that I was running out of time. So I did speed up towards the end, and that's purely because I didn't get to practice in front of the mirror or do any videoing. Just lack of time this week. Can I ask two things? How about the speed at which I'm talking? I used to speak very fast. I think I'm improving, but it's still too fast. Matt, if you can speak on behalf of everyone, maybe. It seems like it's still too fast. Okay.
I found the perfect.
I think it was good. One of the things I was able to do is to get my own notes down on paper there. If you'd have gone fast, I wouldn't have been able to sort of grab those highlights and put them down as sort of bullet points on a piece of paper here. Okay. So I had no problems with the speed at all there. The fact that, and I think that's probably an interesting issue there in terms of actually how you take notes in terms of people's speeches. that would be a nice topic for somebody to present to us. You know, how do you give a speech where people can actually find the time and to
Yes.
put the highlights down there. So I was
It's
able to
called
do that.
It's called The Power of the Pause, and I'm not yet getting it right. And it was one of the bullet points in my slide deck, but the power of the pause, I'm not getting right. I also interrupt people like I just did now with you. I have one other question. I'm on online presentations all the time at the moment. How were the hand gestures in terms of, you know, not being like in your face? How were the hand gestures today? So I'm working really hard on that.
There was nothing that, there was no swaying that I was aware of at all.
And when I was going to 5 tips of.
Yes, and I think they were meaningful in terms of, you know, it weren't just sort of arms flaying around there at all. And I think this whole issue of making gestures and the pauses, maybe, you know, gestures and pauses could go together. Thinking now in terms of my, you know, taking notes of a speech there. Maybe having an awareness that people will want to remember what you're saying without sort of recording you. And it's nice to actually have notes down on a sheet of paper in front of you in terms of bullet points, in terms of the speech there. So I think hand gestures coupled with pauses could certainly help in terms of remembering the speech.
Tendeka, do you have something you want to add?
Yes, Tanya. In terms of speed, again, I think maybe also because I'm a slow listener or whatever, I don't know. You could slow down a bit. For instance, I was intrigued by how you plan for each individual, for different personalities in the audience, where you say Harold encouraged you to just grab a cup of coffee, walk around, you know, ask people. You did that very well, but now you left it there. So I was curious in terms of then, you know, as you engage with these people, how then do you plan, you know? So if next time maybe you can do the speech again and then maybe talk about that.
Thank you. Excellent. Always appreciated. Matt, back to you. Or Adrian.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, no, we're certainly learning there, but certainly it's been a great session today, I must admit. Far beyond my expectations. I was thinking of doom and disaster and and resigning from the club and all sorts of things like that. I will say we're on my mind that we're not doing very well in terms of getting active participation by all our members, even though there's only, was it 10, 11 of them? And it made me realize I've got to do a personal thing in terms of my role as membership vice president. But we're always learning. This is one of the great things about Toastmasters. There's always scope for doing better, learning. So that's me. But Matt, Matt. No, I must admit, a lot of thanks to you in sort of helping me out. And I'm not sure what I'm doing, particularly when it comes to the social media side of things and the computer side of things.
Okay. We can invite the tag team, the timer and our accountant, Grammarian, to give their reports.
Yes, please.
Tendeka.
Was I also doing our counter?
But it's okay if you didn't catch that one. You can just give the timekeeper and the grammarian.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I only did grammarian and timekeeper. Or Tanya, so I timed Tanya and Kanyane for their speeches. Tanya was 19 minutes, 20 seconds. She was meant to speak between 10 to 20 minutes. Yeah, so you did well there, Tanya. And Kanyane was meant to do between 18 to 22 minutes, which is an odd number. Not number, but so you were 15 minutes and 20 seconds. So well done there to you both. You are well within your time, your allocated time. Then with regards to grammarian, I must say up front that I don't like this role. I've avoided it so much because as a second language English speaker, you can imagine that this has been my worst nightmare. And now, because we send our children to first language English schools, we get corrected all the time in the house. So I hate this role, but then today I said, I'm gonna do it. And yeah, I must start with Tanya. Tanya, I found that you used both you and Kanyane used the word of the day, freeze and froze, during the question and answer session. Yeah, I think you had forgotten it in your main speech, but then you put up in the question and answer. And while Kanyane did not use it in her main speech, because she raised it in the questions, then I would credit both of you and say you used the word of the day. Then we're coming back to Tanya. Tanya, you were very comfortable in your use of the language, and you use interesting words like therein lies the content, to just spruce up your language. And the word ingest, I want to relate to what Matt said. Say when he looked at the sandwich, it really, it made it more clear what you were trying to deliver to us, and the word ingest. And when you use the word ingest, it sort of says to me, if I don't ingest it properly, then it will cause problems. You'll have indigestion. But if the message is packaged nicely, then it will be easy to ingest. So I really think that was a very good use of the word within the context of your speech. And then the use of words like lacking in, can you imagine? Those words. I also found, I'm not sure, I thought I was going to Google the pronunciation of the word executives. And I said, I'm learning of this word for the first time. You said executives. Some people say executives. I would want to know what is the correct pronunciation of this word. And then also the use of the word skeleton, skeleton being that scary thing that looks like a ghost, and also a draft of your speech. Instead of using the word draft, you use the word skeleton. So that was a good use of the language as well. Then, yeah, so that's the summary of my grammarian report for you, Tanya. Very good use of the language. And Kanyane. Then Kanyane, so for me, again, as I said, that I hate this role. And I found that at the beginning, when you started to talking, you were comfortable. You were very relaxed with your language, no errors. And then you got to a point where you were saying, I'm the only biological child to my children. I said, okay, I don't know whether it's me who heard that. You said it again. I said, no, then it's not me. Then the third time you corrected yourself and said, I'm the only biological child to my parents. So I think you are nervous because now you are nearing the end of your speech and you're repeating some of the things you're saying, you're becoming comfortable, relaxed. So the more relaxed you are, the more proper your grammar is and your language, you know. But when you are still, when you're nervous, you don't even hear yourself saying the wrong thing. So yeah, but I like the use of the word paternal, my paternal aunt, instead of just saying the aunt from my mother's side or the aunt from my father's side. Yeah, and then you also use the word utilize instead of use to improve the quality of your speech. So yeah, overall, I think as you've said, as you've also picked up, you've really improved over time, and your language is improved as well. So just try and be calm, relax. I know it's difficult. I mean, we've stood in front of this audience so many times, but every time it's like the first time. But other than that, yeah, I also had your baby had lots of opinions there as you were talking, and I really wished we could see the baby. But, yeah, so that's that. So thank you so much. Thanks.
Well done, Tandeka, on doing something that you hate and doing it so spectacularly. I think that was you definitely challenged yourself there, and I'm personally impressed with how detailed your notes were and how much attention you were paying. Maybe we should all start doing something we hate so that we can pay more attention to what we're doing and when we're doing it. Maybe that's where our areas of growth lie. But nonetheless, Tandeka, again, well done on taking up the role in today's meeting, and well done on acing it as you did in our last meeting, which was your first evaluation, and now you're here, grammarian. Well done, well done. Righty, we have completed the business of our meeting today. I'll just use the next minute or so to just give my on a point, and then we can use one more minute for anybody, a few more minutes for anybody that wants to share on a point, and then we can wrap up our meeting for today. So my 2 points on a point is, firstly, I'd like to thank all of you for making use of the website and actually registering. I was quite impressed. The notifications were coming through to say you guys were taking up roles, and I'm not gonna lie, it made me happy. It made me smile, seeing you guys take up that initiative. It's certainly going to help when it comes to preparing the agenda. So I don't think I can tell you enough just how grateful I am that you guys were doing that this week. Despite the shitty week that I had, excuse my language, that put a smile on my face. Yeah. So thank you all very much for actively participating in the growth of our club. The second on a point that I do have is I'd like to encourage you, anyone that's keen to do educationals in our meeting, please let me know. Let's have a lot of these educations. I do believe that you guys have value that we can gain from, that we can learn from as a club. And I get the whole Toastmasters come speak, but I also believe sharing of knowledge is important in this space. I think these educationals add a lot of value to our meetings as well and to our growth. So if you're keen on doing an educational about anything, please come and share it with us. Yes, Tanya.
I was quite surprised when I was on the agenda thing, registering for my educational, that it asked me what my pathway is and the level. It suggested the level to the educational I was putting in. So I didn't really realize that it's the equivalent to a speech. I thought it was just something on the side. So in terms of motivating people, I'm going to go onto the portal just now and try and figure out how to connect it to my pathway. But it's actually the equivalent to a speech. And I don't think, or I didn't realize that, and I'm not quite sure many people realize that. Educationals are now part of the new pathways, which they weren't before. Just 2 cents from my side.
Thank you for sharing that, Tanya. And I think, I also hadn't realized until you actually filled it in, and I was like, wow, this is actually interesting, that the educational was aligned to pathways. So I think this just speaks into how they always say that there's no speech in Toastmasters that you can give that you cannot align to your pathways. So yeah, definitely, if that's encouraging enough, please do use the educationals as part of your pathways project. And then my last honor point would be meeting themes. If anybody's got ideas for meeting themes, please send them through. Would like us to have meeting themes for the remainder of the year, not the remainder of this year, but the remainder of our year up until the next committee comes in.
Yeah.
So I do believe that's going to also allow our Toastmasters to come in prepared. So if you've got meeting theme ideas, please feel free to share those. And yeah, anybody would like to share anything on a point? Yes, Tandeka.
2 things. One is a question. The second one is a comment for Tanya. Tanya, thank you for torturing me. Today I'm not eating, and your presentation had 3 delicious looking sandwiches, and I had to look at this sandwich with seeds and what. Thank you. Then the second one is a question. Matthew, have you been reading the Book of Solomon in the Bible? Is that why you just thought of the word concubine out of no?
I honestly thought that was the word, until I saw the definition, and I'm like,
That was entertaining, Matthew. We all had a good giggle there, I must admit. One of the things in terms of educationals, I think, in terms of from my side, in terms of having roles, is to give an education. As I'm learning to give an education in terms of looking for people to succeed after my roles as membership vice president and education there. So those are educations that I would like to do. I'm still learning. One of the things, changing the subject a little bit, I was just thinking of the sandwich again. I made a point, bottom up and top down, whether that could be so you're making the sandwich, you start from the bottom, don't you? And that's all. This is all your preparation. You're preparing the sandwich as a meal, and then eating it, enjoying it. You go down. I was just thinking you can make a bit of a story on that particular, the analogy between preparation and presentation. Anyway, that's the thought that crossed my mind. You could add a little bit more. I just wondering, and then the word spice comes into my mind. So there could be sort of analogies you could bring in terms of top down and the actual ingredients, the spices or the dressings on your salad or things like that. It's just a thing that came to my mind, that's all. But I love that analogy, the sandwich analogy that could be made into, make it a little bit more spicy.
How to make your speeches spicy. I love that. Thank you, Adrian. Tanya, see your hand is up.
Oh, sorry. No, I didn't drop it. That's all. Did a Kanyani moment.
Alrighty, and just to then close off the meeting again. Thank you all for attending. There were only 5 of us today, and it was a very intimate meeting. I must say we're probably going to see a few more of these before as our membership base, as we try and grow our membership base. So please don't be disheartened by our 5-member meetings and our 6-member meetings. I think for me, the important thing is, again, that you're all showing up and you're all showing up as your best selves. I just hope, my only hope is that you are still feeling like you're getting value out of these. And if not, please, again, feedback is the breakfast of champions, and we are a breakfast club. So please feed us some breakfast. Let's discuss how we can improve and what needs to be done to help us, you know, grow. Yes, Tanya.
Sorry, just one last thing, given that sentiment. My brother's birthday is the first week in October. My 50th is the second week. I have a company event the 4th week, and then I've got a joint 50th the first week in November. So please don't take offense if I can't get to all of the meetings until mid-November. It's got nothing to do with Toastmasters. It's just, you know, that time of the year. Okay, so there you go.
Tanya,
Just,
when is your exact birth date?
On the 12th.
October 12th of October.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Noted. Thank you very much, Tanya.
I don't want to think about though, Adrian. I'll be 50, so just don't think about it. It feels terribly old.
No,
Anyway.
no, you're in your prime now.
Okay, thank you.
What about me? You know, 77, approaching 80. I was supposed to be way past my 10, and 80 is the ultimate limit according to the Bible.
All right, well, I'm working towards that. But the next few weeks are going to be a little bit tricky. So Matt, I'll do my best, but just a heads up. It's got nothing to do with the club. It's just birthday season.
What you can do, Tanya, and just in closing, is the website. I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but it does have that RSVP function, so you can just let us know. You can just choose the no, I won't be attending function, and then me and Adrian will be alerted to that. So you can.
What I did is I just ticked this meeting while I figure out the next few weeks. So
Yeah.
Perfect.
Good.
Alrighty then. I guess that is us for today. I hope you all have an amazing week, and looking forward to seeing you in our next meeting. The theme of our next meeting would be your voice as an instrument of creation. And we will be looking at some key takeaways from the 2021 World Champion of Public Speaking. So until then, I hope you have an amazing, amazing week, and chat to you later. Bye. Exco team, please hang around.
Voice as voice as an instrument of
creation.
Just want to jot it down. You didn't pause it long enough for me to suddenly forgot it. I've got it down.
No sweat. Alrighty, awesome then. Bye, Tanya.
Everyone.
Bye.
Stop meeting.